growing weary of running from room to room, practicing one-tooth insurance-driven dentistry? Then stay tuned for the latest episode of The Lionhearted, where Dr. Stephen Rasner will hand you the blueprint for what many call the gold standard of general practice dentistry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lionhearted Dental Podcast with Dr. Steve Rasner. I hope this is a good one for you. Welcome to the new year. I hope you guys have some energy. I hope you thought about some of the things we've talked about in the last couple of years. Goal setting, especially this time of year, is important. A shout out and thanks to all my followers and listeners, particularly you crazy cray-crays in the UK. You are, I'd love to know how many people are doing this, but you are out downloading much bigger countries. So it is very much appreciated. Has even the 1-2 people in Russia that continue to download, or the one in Indonesia, or a couple other places like that. I don't care if it's one in your country. I love it. And I try to make this worthwhile to you each and every week. Sometimes I come up short, probably. You know the format. It's you and I having a beer after work or on the weekend. And we're talking with each other and things I think I can tell you from 41 years of this to save you some time, angst, reduce the bumps in your career, maximize the ceiling for your potential. That's why I'm here. It's the truth. So this week, this particular podcast, I went back because last week I know I was talking about the best moments of 2021, the best learning moments. And I went back to my protocol book. And those of you that have followed me have heard me mention this many times. What I did not know, which is a little shocking, is I wrote this book 20 years ago. And I want to tell you some things. Those of you that are watching can physically see the book right now. And some of you know the story, but this is a God's truth of this book's inception. I swear this is how it happened. And then after I tell you that, I've been going through this before I turned on this podcast tonight. And I swear to you, I'm looking you in the eye if you're watching me right now. And I know you can tell in my voice. Everything that I wrote in here, I did. It wasn't a good idea that I thought I should include, that maybe I'll do someday, and I'll impress my readers who buy this book. No, it's stuff I did. And when I read it, and every protocol is really a system that I put into effect. And I don't do them all now. I'm being honest with you. I don't. But these are gold. Almost all of them are. And I'm going to actually share a couple with you today with the book to my right, which I haven't done really before. I've recalled it off the top of my head. Of course, I wrote the book. By the way, this book I used to sell for $180. And I sold thousands of them. I did. And it wasn't the intention. As I just told you, this is how it started. I was experiencing after many years, if I wrote it 20 years ago, it meant that I wrote it 20 years into practice. And I remember experiencing a roller coaster ride of week to week and month to month. Not so much of success, because we were pretty successful month in and month out for years and years and years. And if I haven't said that to you before, or if it's never resonated with you, I want you to remember something. Using these lion-hearted principles that I share with you each week, and many principles in this book, I endured 29, this is absolute fact, consecutive years of increased growth and profitability. So every year, the collections, productions went up and the profit went up. And as the years went on, because we became more efficient, I worked less. I didn't always work 4 days a week. In the early years, I worked many, many years, 5 days a week, like many of you, evenings. So it wasn't like I worked more to continue and sustain that success. These principles work, man. They absolutely flat out work. And the best part is that they're not costly. Not this part isn't. In a lion-hearted dentist office, yeah, we pay our staffs well. I do, if they've earned it. I pay them at the top of the profession, and I'm proud of it. But they earn it. I delegate the heck out of everything because I just don't want to do it. And you can't delegate anything if you don't trust the person you're giving the job that you used to do to the new person, right? So I had experienced many ups and downs in terms of what the experience is like to me each week. Like I always have said, on certain weeks, the clinic would be razor sharp. Everything would be clicking. But maybe that particular week or two, the front desk protocols or the way I perceived our operations were not good. I mean, for example, canceled appointments, people not showing up because I didn't always get paid up front, which incredibly impacts people not showing up. And those of you tuning in for the first time tonight, go back and look up a podcast about getting paid up front. That's the primary reason I instituted that protocol, because I found that it resulted in a commitment to completion of treatment I recommended. And I had experienced, like many of you do, the opposite so many times. Everything I've told you guys, a comprehensive care approach to your examinations, the whole methodology to the first phone call, to what happens till they get to your office, it results in extraordinary case acceptance. It's all in these podcasts. And so after years and years of these fluctuations, then sometimes the front desk would be a 10. But in the clinic, we would have a patient show up and maybe the crown wouldn't, or bridge wasn't back. See, I'd gone taking you back to the years when we did more bridges and less implants. Maybe that somehow wasn't back from a lab, or we were late all the time. That was a common symptom that I was really unhappy with, embarrassed about. We just didn't have our act together when it came to respecting our patients' time and our time. And it was all fixed from these things you hear me share with you each week. So here's what I did. Here's how the protocol book was born. I didn't think about selling this book. It never entered my mind. What happened is I just kept this notebook one day and I just followed through on it. I didn't give up on it. And every time something happened over a period of about 18 months, and as the book grew and the protocols book grew, it inspired me to keep going and be even more thorough. And every time something happened that I didn't know the answer to, I literally would stop what I was doing, which sometimes it was a clinical thing. So it was really hard. I had to break from the patient, run out into my hallway. Seriously, it's what I did. And I'd scratch it down real quick on a piece of paper. And I would take that paper home that weekend or that night. And I'd write the protocol for the out-of-town hygiene patient that's late, or my temporary crown came out, phone call. Just imagine 18 months of those. And not only did I do that, but then I would give it to my staff to pass around and have them sign it. That's what we all believed in. So that's why you hear me refer so much to the term protocol. That's where it came from for me. A lot of organizations use them. The Four Seasons hotel chain is full of protocols. The next time you're out of Four Seasons, whether it be for my friends that tune in from Australia or the UK or Russia or the Toronto one has the Four Seasons. In fact, I think it was one of the first. I've stayed there many times. When you're served a drink, they will never hand you a drink without a napkin underneath or put a napkin down wherever you're at. Now, is that really important? Probably not to me. That's not the point. The point is Whoever works for the Four Seasons knows how to do the Four Seasons way. And I have to ask you, is that the case in your office? Do your staff, your team, all know the same way to approach the things that happen from 8 o'clock in the morning when you open up till when you close? And so that was the point. And somehow at some point, I don't remember when, to be honest with you, I actually put it into print in this pretty blue book. And you know what? We'll show you who's talking to you each week. I didn't tell you this, so a bunch of you would write to Beth or myself and try to purchase it. I don't even know if I have any left. And for the most part, it's pretty relevant. I mean, I'm already into the 11th minute with you of this podcast. So I want to share with you a couple and really good ones that you can use on Monday. That will help you. Before I do that, I just want to share one thing with you. And this one thing is for those younger dentists right now. Those of you about to graduate dental school and looking for an associateship next year, or for a dentist that's been out for the first year or two, and you're on interviews for a different associateship. How do you know whether to accept it or not? Is there a formula? I don't know. I want to tell you something that my daughter said to me, who has a master's degree in psychology, on something I was sharing with her. And I know this sounds incredibly mundane, maybe. She says, what does your heart tell you? Your heart generally doesn't lie. Think about it for a minute. If you're at an interview or the interview is over and there's something that doesn't feel right, your heart's not feeling right. I guess sometimes we use the word gut, but I like heart. Then think it over and don't take it. Don't sign up until you've done other interviews. I don't know. I know that doesn't sound mind-boggling, but you don't have to pay for your heart. It's right inside you. And it does speak to us. And so that's the tip this week from Carly Rasner in Utah, Salt Lake City. She doesn't watch this, so I'm going to give you 2 or 3 this week. Just tell me the truth that these don't ring within you. So the first one I want to talk about is called the Start of the Day Protocol. And I want to tell you, as I'm speaking to you and going over a couple of these, some of them I'm going to update right in front of you, because I told you I did this in 2002. And as some of these are obsolete, but not relevant. They are relevant. One staff member is assigned to arrive at your office 1 hour before operations. This will be well worth whatever this cost you, an extra 4 hours a week, to ensure that we get off to the best start possible. This person simply follows and completes the checkoff list on the opposite page, which I'm going to go over with you. It is imperative that the assigned employee has the mentality that ensures that they will complete everything on the list that you design. It is equally important that this staff member sign off at the bottom of the daily checklist and giving their teammates their word that they have completed the first step towards assuring a great day. And I'm telling you, as I said 10 minutes ago, I did this. I don't do it anymore, and we do a weaker form of it. You need to start strong before you're allowed to coast. So the first one says, well, it says good morning on our checklist. It says turn on the X-ray processor. Well, I would replace that with, if you have a cone bean, turn on your CBCT. Start it up, make sure things are operating. Then I have other things I'm going to skip on this because I don't think they're 2022 relevant. as in turn on the copier, turn on all the computers, because I think we leave the computers on. I know we do. But checking the answering machine and retrieving messages is paramount to a good day. Because what if your very first patient, for whatever reason, is on that message machine, which I have found even last year, are all patients confirmed. Now, they're supposed to be confirmed when they left you on Thursday. We used to have mandates that that job wasn't done until everybody was confirmed. But the truth is, sometimes, some way, you just can't find a person. Maybe they're on vacation in Mexico. I don't know. They won't answer their phone. We have a cell phone. That's an important protocol these days, by the way, to get cell phone and emails, unless the patient refuses. And I just don't remember that happening. So it is turn on your CBCT, check the answering machines. Number 2, I used to have a welcome board in my reception room, welcoming new patients. I know we don't anymore, and I don't know if you're allowed. It might be a HIPAA thing. But that's what we used to do. I could tell you today, that would be reviewed in the morning meeting. The next one are all patients confirmed. So it would be incumbent of the confirmation team on the last day they were there, which would have been Thursday or Friday in some of your offices. Did they not get to confirm? They certainly, I would hope, had confirmed the first patient of the day. And then lastly, are all expected financial co-payments or arrangements recorded on the schedule? I mentioned at the last podcast about collecting those little balances. In case you didn't hear that, what that meant was this. A lot of times your front desk team will look in the computer and they'll see little balances next to a patient's name that are outstanding. $16, $98, $114. And maybe the original treatment plan was thousands, so it doesn't seem like a lot. Here's the problem with that thought process. The only person that did not get paid was your doctor, and it's just not the way you want it to be, because you got paid. The suppliers, the vendors, everybody got paid, except the doctor. He got most of it, but that very last few dollars is pure profit, and it's just sitting there in the book. So I'm jumping ahead to a protocol I talked about last week, but it's important that the best time to collect it is when they're in your office. So that becomes the job of the billing department. That's what I meant when I told you earlier in this podcast that I don't mind paying absolute clear best dollars in town or best dollars in the industry to be our billing person, to be our insurance person, hygienist, whatever. That said, you need to be the kind of person, I'm talking staff, that wants to perform at a very high level. And performing at a high level is taking it under your belt. One of the most important jobs in the office, to verify balances of a patient that are in the chart or that are in the computer. Because if you verify with an explanation, they downgraded your crown to a composite, whatever the insurance reasons were, you're able to say, you as in the front desk team are able to say, you know what, I'm not even allowed to bring up, because a lot of patients are going to contest that they owe you money, whether it's $45 or $5. And a nice way to reply to that is that, we've prepared in our office for just every single position, including me giving you a balance. I'm not even allowed to give you a balance unless it's been verified, double checked by the insurance department here. And it was. And it says here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to give you one more because I'm sure this is going to get lengthy. And this is an important one, and you may have to write to me when I get to part of this. It's called the Monday Morning Review. The Monday, it's really important. morning review. It's not the morning review, it's on Mondays. 10 minutes of your Monday morning are dedicated, which means the Monday morning has to be a little bit bigger. Now, maybe you don't need your entire team, but you need, doctor, I know I'm telling you a lot of things right now. I'm going to ask you what I always ask my audiences. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to reach the top of the summit in private practice care dentistry? Because the outcome, the reward for you is really less stress, less bumps, more profitability, and freedom. So you have to be willing to prepare for that. And I'm telling you that because I know I just added another thing to your list, right? I just told you the Monday morning review. So 10 minutes of your Monday are dedicated to review the key parameters of the prior week. The form on the following page needs to be completed and filled out by the appropriate staff member, be ready to be reviewed. I'm going to go over that form for you, and you can email myself or Beth, and we'll send literally what I have, and you'll get it in just a second. In this book, I have a rationale for every protocol. Here's the rationale for this one. Have you ever experienced this? It's mid-March, and you've had a nice little run. New patients are calling. Cash flow seems great. Naturally, morale is on the rise. Staff members chirp in. Things are really good lately, don't you think? Fewer cancellations, less complaints, it seems. Sounds good. Sure, but you can't learn from that. It's empty. The one and only way to really know how you're doing is through tracking. And the weekly performance monitor on the following page shows you the barometers that we track. Why is this worthy? Well, let me give you one example of a payoff. In the course of a year, each of us have the unpleasant experience of examining a hygiene patient only to reveal caries on the distal of a crown that you did just 2 years ago. How did that happen, right? That ever happened to you? Because it happens to me. It happens. One of the more eroding factors to your profitability are redos, non-productive time that's part of running a dental practice. The only verifiable way to track the amount of these you do each year is to regularly record the data. Contrary to my staff's, my own, and my team's gut feeling, we found that we did more redos than what a quality office would deem acceptable. So we reinstituted from that data the dental school protocol of a bite wing film prior to cementation and to see if it was radiographically acceptable. The Monday morning review protocol is not like many in this book. It requires discipline. It requires patience before it will become habit. But the dream won't be built on gut feelings you have. It will be built on real answers, answers you need to review every week, every Monday. So when you get this page from me, you're going to see at the top in bold, it says weekly performance monitor, the week of blank. That was the prior week. So somebody does this at the end. Your office manager is going to do this at the end of the prior week. What was your production? What was your collections? Some of this requires time. That doesn't. That comes right out of the computer. How much downtime did you have? Continued barometers I want you to look at. The number of new patients. You ready for this? The number of patients seen, period. The number of late seatings. The number of positive compliments. The number of complaints. That's under performance. So productivity and performance. Performance is we want to see a lot of new patients. Performance, I know it's hard to track. It's only hard to track in your mind right now because you haven't done it. If you have a team of 4 or you have a team of 20 like I do, if everybody knows, so if the compliments and complaints aren't exact, they are going to give you a trend. So if you received last week 7 compliments and 1 complaint, and you multiply that and it's consistent, I think that's a good barometer for you. I think that is a trend. The number of new patients. So you're going to save this in your computer and you're going to be able to reflect back. This is data. This is real. And of course, you can apply this to a myriad of other parameters in your office. The next section's quality, and it goes under the number of clinical procedures repeated. Like, we didn't get the impression the first time. Those of you that still do analog impressions. Or the wax tooth try-in, it was back for the 3rd or 4th time. That would be in under quality for me. Somebody has to be assigned. All you have to do is direct somebody in your office to record this and be consistent. The number of remakes necessary. Like, do you do 1 a month? Do you do 1 each day? Because a remake means you're redoing a procedure. It could be a direct restoration with an open contact. It can be a crown that I just alluded to. It could be a denture with the patient's just not happy. It could be a crown with a shade that somehow got bypassed. Isn't this called quality control? The things I'm talking about? And you can edit it to fit your office, and certainly can think of some better things to monitor in 2022 than I did 20 years ago. The point is, are you monitoring? And the worst part about this is taking the time. You hear me? When I went through this book, and I look at everything from my morning agenda to scheduling emerging patients to the hygiene patients 20 minutes late. Do you see them or not? Are we pushing the envelope? Every protocol had something to do with making us a better organization. And you know what? I'll give you one better than even buying mine, even though I'm not sure I can even sell you one. I actually can sell you not this version, but a version that is online. But that's not why I'm doing this, and I mean it. I could care less. Make your own. It's hard to do, but it really gives you a culture. You really will think of things. I haven't looked at this book in many years, but when I'm looking at it, it's taking me back, and I remember all of these nuances that we went through each week to be who we were, to be who we are. The last section, so the sections were productivity, performance, quality assessment of what we did that week, team contentment, sick days, tardiness, terminations. Obviously, you're not going to fire people weekly. Hopefully, sick days won't be a big part of your culture. Tardiness could be. And tardiness was a problem with us, even as recently as last year. And I had some meetings and put an end to it. So listen, I hope I didn't sidetrack you too bad there. Again, we're out for a beer, right? That's in my head. And I'm trying to give you some stuff for consistency. I appreciate, since it is a new year, if any of you want to reach out and want to give me suggestions for topics you want to hear about, I'd be glad to tell you what I do. Until then, have a great week. We're going to have a great year, you and I. This could be our breakout year. Those of you in dental school that are just graduated, either one. Dental school, 3rd year, 4th year, you're getting closer to takeoff, right? If you're watching this or listening to anything other than like this, then you're doing the right thing. Those of you in an associateship, thinking of starting your own gig, your own deal, take notes, man. Get ready. You got one crack at this. I was an associate for 3 years, 2 years. So that's part of the journey for many of us. I'll see you next week on the Lionhearted Podcast.